The next video in this series about the tarot symbolism in James Cameron's Avatar is about the Hierophant, the Emperor, and also the High Priestess card. There's something interesting about the Hierophant, the Emperor, and the High Priestess archetypes in James Cameron's Avatar, which is that there's something about their costume which directly correlates to the tarot card in the Rider-Waite deck that they're supposed to represent. So I will start with the Hierophant. If you look at the Hierophant card from the Rider-Waite deck, you'll see that there's several things going on in the card, but the most prominent thing that most people would remember if they just saw the card for a few seconds would be that the Hierophant is holding a scepter. And that scepter is quite unique in that it's not a normal cross, it's actually a triple cross. The issue is that James Cameron can't just have someone walk in to a scene in Avatar with a triple cross scepter without millions of people saying, wait, isn't that the Hierophant scepter thing from the Rider-Waite deck? Right? It's been 13 years and still no one's ever talked about the tarot symbolism in this film, and it's been seen by billions of people. So we know that no one has a triple cross scepter in that film, or else it would be too obvious and too literal. What he did instead was he put something triple, something with 3 lines into one of the characters, very prominently, right? It's not a scepter, it's 3 lines that correlate or are part of a character's identity. And so let's look at who is the Hierophant in this film. So the Hierophant is supposed to be an embodiment of the old dogmatic way of thinking of whoever is the Fool card, right? We know that Jake Sully is the Fool card at this point in the series. So who is it that embodies the old and dogmatic way of thinking of the Fool card? If we think back to the first scene when Jake Sully first comes off of the space shuttle and he wheels into that old school safety briefing, he says, nothing like an old school safety briefing to put your mind at ease. After the colonel has just told him that everything from every angle from now on this planet is going to try to kill him from every side, Jake Sully was comforted by this because the colonel is an embodiment of Jake Sully's old comfort zone. So, since we know that the colonel is the Hierophant, but he doesn't have a triple scepter, what about him has 3 lines like the triple cross on the triple scepter? Well, his scars, of course. Those scars are not accidental. Those scars are subliminal that he is the Hierophant card. So next in line, we have the Emperor card. The Emperor card is depicted as this sort of kingly figure sitting on a throne. And to understand what the most prominent aspects of that card are, we have to imagine if you showed this card to someone for just like 2 seconds, and then you asked them an hour later about the card, what would they remember? Well, they would probably remember that it's a kingly figure sitting on a throne, but probably the next thing that they would remember is that there are all of these ram's horns on that throne, on the armrests and also on the back of the throne as well. So there's this very prominent ram's horn spirally thing going on in that card. So then when we look at James Cameron's Avatar and we think, who is most clearly the Emperor? It's most clearly Neytiri's father, that is the Emperor. But what's interesting about the way that James Cameron did this is that if you look closely at the breastplate of Neytiri's dad, you will see something very similar to all of those ram's horns in the Emperor card in the Rider-Waite deck. This is a subliminal linking him to the tarot card he's representing. because he is the Emperor card. Next in line, we have the High Priestess card. Now, it should be pretty clear to everyone who the High Priestess card is in James Cameron's Avatar. This is, of course, Neytiri's mother. The interpreter of the will of Awa is the way in which they say it in the film. But basically, she's the tribal shaman. So the way that her costuming correlates to the tarot card that she is meant to represent is quite interesting. If you look at the High Priestess card, you'll notice that the most prominent aspects of that card that will pop out to somebody really quickly are the two big pillars in that card. Right? You have white pillar, black pillar. These pillars are from Kabbalah, and they represent the pillar of mercy and the pillar of severity. Now, the issue with embedding this into a film, imagine you're James Cameron and you're like, okay, this is High Priestess card. How do we have her walk down the steps with two big pillars with her? That's quite a challenge. You know, you can't just have somebody walking around with pillars like High Priestess card style, you know. So this is the genius of the way that he did this, right? Neytiri's mother is the only character in that entire film that has this headdress with these very prominent cords framing her face, right? These little miniature stylized pillars that she actually brings with her as she comes into the scene for the first time. As she walks down the steps to meet Jake Sully the Fool, she brings with her this miniature stylized set of pillars framing her face. And as I said before, these are in Kabbalah the pillar of mercy and severity. And what does she do when she first meets Jake? She pulls a spike from one pillar, one side, and she immediately and swiftly, severely stabs him in the chest really quick. Then she drinks the little drop of blood. Then she resheaths the spike. This is a reference to Kabbalah. This is a reference to the pillar of severity because she is the High Priestess card. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you want to see other videos like this, then remember to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Also, let me know what you think in the comments. Did I get it right? Did I miss something? Leave me a comment below.